Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sessions Cafe, brought to you by Intrigue Magazine. I'm your host, Keri D. Singleton, and today we welcome Ilidio Cardoso to the show. What's up, brother? How are you?
Thank you. I'm awesome. It's a great day to be alive, brother.
It is.
Thanks
It's
for
a beautiful
having me.
day outside. Thank you for coming all the way from Boston to our humble studios here in New York City, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate it. And your shirt, I'm envious. The Coach Cardoso official Game of Life T-shirt.
That's it. It's official.
I gotta get one, bro.
You
I gotta
will.
get one.
You will.
So I've known you most of my life. You and I went to Boston Technical High School together in the '80s. Wow, that sounds ancient now.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, we've known each other for most of our lives.
Sure.
But you were born in Cape Verde.
No, actually born in Angola.
You were born in Angola. Okay, your parents were born in Cape
Correct.
Verde. Okay,
Correct.
got you.
Yeah.
So I know that you and your younger brother and your parents moved to the U.S. From Angola in 1977.
Yeah,
that seems like an ancient time ago,
Yes.
but it's not.
Yeah.
Because I still remember the 70s. Before we get into, because you're here because you really, really have a dope story. You have a great story, and we're going to get into the things that you're doing today. But I really wanted to talk about the mid-70s when you were living in Angola with your parents before you moved to the States. There was a civil war. It had to have been kind of
I mean, I remember
rough.
as a kid, I guess everything is sort of exciting in a way.
Right, yeah.
So I know there was civil war going on.
And that was exciting?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. It was,
Right, you didn't, right, exactly.
Yeah. So I just remember that we just had to leave.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Civil War, we don't want to get caught up in it.
So, yeah,
and then
wow.
I think we went to Cape Verde for a couple of months or something like that. And then we came to the United States.
Wow, okay.
The land of opportunity, which.
So wait a minute. So your parents are from Cape Verde.
Correct.
Cape Verde.
Yeah.
They moved to Angola, and then that's when you and your brother were
Correct.
born.
They met in Angola.
Oh, okay.
And then they got
Which is
married in
in
Angola. and
North
that's-
Africa.
Yeah, Angola. Yeah. So then we, I was born there in
Oh, okay.
71, August 71. And then my brother a year later.
Right.
And then,
But because of the Civil War that was going on there, you guys,
yeah,
it wasn't even a choice. You had to leave.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty
so you
much.
went back
Yeah.
to your homeland, your parents' birthplace, before going.
Before migrating
coming
to
to
the
the
US,
States. Was it? I mean, I know you were young, Ilidio, but when was it exciting, or was it just like, oh, we're just going to another place?
Well, coming to America, it was very exciting.
Okay.
We're going to go to America. So then we get to America, and then we're like, looking back at the time, it was exciting. I guess I'm a weird person, but it was exciting to me. It's like inner city busing to South Boston.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, though. Yeah, we were both. 82, though. I want to talk. He's reading my cue cards. But before we get into coming of age in Boston during a pretty turbulent era, I know because I'm from the same city you're from. But in '82, your family became citizens.
Yeah.
Take us back to that moment when you all got citizenship.
That moment was like, my father spoke about becoming a U.S. citizen, I think the day we landed. He was probably talking about it at the airport.
Yeah, wow.
So it's 5 years, to go, sit in front of someone and answer some civil questions, and so on, and become. My father was pretty much an angry guy all the time, which, because he dealt with a lot. We can dive into that later. But what I was saying, I forgot.
82.
Okay, 82.
Citizenship, yeah.
It was such a big memory for me that time because my father was so happy to be a U.S. citizen. I never seen the day he was so happy. It's like, we took the bus, went down to JFK, got sworn in. He came home and he told everybody that would listen. He told.
He was a citizen.
Yeah.
So you remember, you were able to appreciate what your dad, what Mr. Cardoso was beaming about.
Oh yeah, definitely. At the time, I was like, "What's the big deal?"
Right.
But today, I see it. I seen it, previously. But yeah.
And you're the oldest of your siblings. Was that kind of like a real defining moment for you and your dad?
It was. I was happy because my father was happy.
Okay.
For me, it's I was happy to be in America.
Right.
But to me, it's like. I couldn't really understand appreciate correct, appreciation is a good word.
So, but we were going to get into this. You know, for a lot of people that don't know, the late '70s, the mid to late '70s, I should say, were a really, really turbulent time in Boston because that's when the Supreme Court decided to enforce busing kids from different parts of the city, in most cases pretty far away from their neighborhoods, to go across to other neighborhoods in a vain effort to integrate schools.
Yeah.
A lot of Bostonians were very, very much opposed to that. And there was some racial overtones. A lot of the Irish kids that lived in areas like South Boston and Charlestown, the Italian kids in East Boston, you know, their parents, I should say, not the kids so much, but their kids were irate. The parents were irate that their kids had to get bused, and even more so that the kids from black neighborhoods would keep being bused into their neighborhoods. And so you went to the Condon Elementary School around this time period. You weren't in high school, which is where most of the volatile situations did happen. But I know from being a Bostonian that the Condon was in an area of Boston that wasn't very welcoming to most black folks.
Correct.
Coming from the neighborhood of Roxbury, where you and I are originally from.
Correct.
Do you remember as a young person?
Almost vividly.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it was just, we would get on a bus, a yellow bus, that would take us all to a central location, I don't know where, and then there'd be a cop in the front, cop in the back, that escorts like 6 or 7 buses
Oh, wow.
to there. And believe it or not, it was just things we came home and talked about. It was more exciting. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I did remember saying, like, why do they hate me? Why are they throwing rocks at the buses? You know.
So you actually experienced that yourself?
Yes, yeah.
See, I'd only thought that happened to the high school kids that went to the South Boston High School in Charleston.
No,
so
you hear that. I mean, it's not something that happened every day. I just remember a particular incident where a guy's in a motorcycle and just comes in with a rock and just slams it, to the window.
Even
and then,
for the little kids.
Yeah, little kids. And then, I mean, South Boston wasn't like it is now. You know, you go there on a Sunday, there's a bunch of hotties around with yoga pants. It's not the same thing.
Yes, it's a very different place.
Very different place.
It's not. It's a yuppie town now. I understand what you're saying.
Not, I would say my parents were pretty brave to send me to do that. Maybe they didn't know any better themselves, because I wouldn't send my kid to go into that. If I didn't have to.
But did they really have a choice?
I don't think they had a choice.
I don't think they had a choice because
I don't think they had a choice.
So, let's talk about your parents. Do you remember how your parents felt when you came home from school and said, "Mom, they were throwing rocks"? Or I guess you must have also saw it on the news.
Well, funny enough, they worked in South Boston too.
Okay.
So they got the adult version of it.
Oh, wow.
So if they're waiting for the bus or waiting for a car, they'll have kids come up and say the N-word to them and so on. My father was more, he didn't take a lot of that so personal, because he told me later in life that a lot of racism that he encountered around the world, like in Portugal and different places, it was nothing in comparison to what he was going through in the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was his, that's what he told me.
Wow. So basically, you're saying that what he experienced in other countries was worse?
No, it was not
as bad as what was happening.
Yeah, what was happening. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because he's still getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
In other places, they wouldn't hire him because of his skin color.
Right.
So that's, to him, that's a win.
Now, growing up in Roxbury, which when you and I were coming of age, wasn't such a pleasant place.
Yeah.
It was actually Boston's premier ghetto. It was where most of the poorest Bostonians lived. Poorest Black and Hispanic Bostonians lived in the time that we were growing up. But in addition to being economically disadvantaged, I'll say, you also had another, I guess, wall, which was language when you first came here, right?
Yeah, it was, but one thing that like the Connor School did, I think that's why we end up being there. They had ESL programs, so English as a second language.
And what was your first language?
It was Creole, Cape Verdean Creole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
so I actually, no, to be honest, I spoke Portuguese. Which is what, because I was born in Angola, and it was colonized by the Portuguese at the time.
Correct.
Also, and same thing with Cape Verde. You know, Cape Verde was Portuguese speaking until it's still Portuguese speaking, 1977 when they got the independence, which is recently, pretty much.
Wow, pretty much.
49, yeah. You know, so.
So was the language barrier? How did you deal with that?
That was
in the neighborhood though.
That was not
of school.
Well, that was not a bad thing because there's a lot of Cape Verdeans in the neighborhood.
Right.
So my family, like my uncle, that we came to his house. You know, he worked hard and you know he helped us get here.
Yeah.
And we stayed at his house, so they spoke Cape Verdean Creole. They spoke and English. So you pick, as a kid you pick up those things pretty quickly.
Right.
You know, so that was not.
That wasn't an issue
By
outside.
third grade, I could say, in 3 years, I could say that I was speaking
Fluent English.
Fluent
Okay,
English, yeah.
that's cool. Wow.
Yeah, so
interesting.
yeah.
Do you still speak
Creole? Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
So you speak
Yeah.
Creole, Portuguese.
Little Portuguese, little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
that's,
yeah.
Wow. And it just helped that you were in a community with other Cape Verdeans.
Correct. Yeah.
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 In a collective
Yeah.
environment.
It was the comfort zone. You know.
Speaking of comfort zones, you weren't a big fan of high school.
No.
Okay.
I hated it, to say the least. I mean, I don't know if I was expecting some big like movies, you know, this and that. I was just like, I hated it.
Yeah.
I hooked, like I talked about when I was interviewing Palmer. I hooked school.
Yeah.
To go work.
Palmer.
Rendered Palmer. Yeah. I hooked school to go
we
work.
all did at Boston Tech.
Yeah, I
that
was 15 and I would go work at McDonald's because I wanted money.
Right.
And you know, and that that usually would give a problem. Like you can't come in here this early.
Right.
To come,
you're
you're supposed to be in
class.
school.
Right.
So
exactly.
I'm lying that we let out early, whatever it is. You know. And
You don't
so,
want to learn social studies. You want to flip
Exactly,
burgers
yeah.
and make money. I
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah, wow, that's
yeah.
interesting.
So that was my whole thing was always.
So you
let's
were
get
a
the money.
slacker in high school? Would
Was
you
that-
consider yourself a slacker person that just did the bare minimum to get by?
Oh yeah, and that carried on my whole life.
Yeah.
It was not just to be honest with you.
Wow.
So I mean, I started to realize it later that that's what I was doing. I was doing the same. You know, you just work enough not to get fired.
Right.
That's what my mentality.
That's what you were doing.
Yeah. So
We'll be right back with more from Ilidio Cardoso on Sessions Cafe right after this. And we're back here on Sessions Cafe TV show with my guest, Ilidio Cardoso. So you were a little bit of a slacker.
Yeah.
You was just doing just enough to get by,
Yeah.
and even when in the work environment, you were doing just enough not to get fired.
Yeah, that's the truth.
But I mean, come on, man! You graduated from Curry College in Massachusetts. That's a pretty prestigious school up there. I know that to be true. What was your major? What was your major?
Business.
Business.
Yeah, business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: as a person that wasn't a big fan of high school, why would you choose to even enroll in college? Because a lot of people.
That's kind of how I was programmed. I
Okay.
was programmed to, if you don't go to college, so I mean, I worked full time. I didn't go hang out the dorms. I worked full time, 50, 60 hours.
Right.
You know, because I had a kid right out of high school, and then I went to school full time.
Okay.
So, and that was a way to me to tell myself I'm accomplishing something. So, but I was doing the same thing in college.
In college, you were just trying to.
I gave myself a B or 3 point whatever it is, and I said I'm gonna stay there.
Right.
And that's what I would do, and I would just be average.
But a B is not bad.
No, it's not. But I
No.
kind of that's what I said myself. I wouldn't set A.
Okay.
You know, I would just say
You had moderate expectations.
Modest, yeah, of myself.
Not low, because
Yeah.
you graduated in 2002.
Yeah.
So that must have been a source of pride, man.
It was. It was a source of accomplishment.
Yeah.
I remember, my father, rest in peace. I was, I brought home. I was so happy that I had that degree, and I showed him, and my mother and father were very happy.
So did your mother, your father, and your siblings all attend the graduation?
I actually didn't go to my graduation.
Okay.
I just wanted the diploma. I wanted to prove, and I sort of wanted to show my parents I'm really somebody.
Right.
I wasn't going to school, but I'm really, that's kind of, I think that's really my why I did it.
But well, let me ask you this though, man. Even though you went to Curry College, even though you graduated from Curry College, I'm sorry, you majored in business, but did you really feel fulfilled did you really feel fulfilled, aside from actually getting the piece of paper that said, yeah, Mom, yeah, Dad, yeah, brothers and sisters, I did this. Did you, though, really feel fulfilled?
I did.
Okay.
It could have been short-lived.
Right.
I felt at the time, I felt really fulfilled. I mean, the reason I studied business also because money was always a topic in the house. Of
course.
Right? I'm hooking school to go to McDonald's, right? To go work at McDonald's.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to learn about business, learn about money, you know, and that was at the time, was a driving force in money. Money was sort of my master in a way.
Right.
You know, now I understand that money is a tool.
It's a tool,
and
exactly.
I use it as a tool.
Right. Right.
That's one of the, you know.
Now, I want to just step back a little bit. You talked earlier in the show about your dad. I feel as if he was probably a pretty big influence on you, but you said he was an angry guy. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
Well, he would come home. I mean, he was a guy that everybody will say, "Wow, your father's a nice guy," because he's a big smile on his face and so on. But he would come in the house, and all he dealt with at work, and all the stuff that he says the boss has said to him, certain people said to him, he would come home and he's on the door not happy, and you know, and yelling and cursing, and you just want somebody to come home. As a kid, you don't see all that, right? I always bring that up to people.
Right.
It's not that I'm mad at him.
Right.
It's just so you know what you're doing, how you're affecting your family by bringing a negative energy inside the home, and making them think that they're less of a person because you're so angry with them and you're happy with the whole world.
So he basically came home and unloaded.
Correct. Yeah. But now I understand why. I mean, he moves from Cape Verde, he goes to Angola, a whole new country. He's there, he gets a great job, he's working, you know, some kind of commuter rail thing, but it was a prestigious job at the time. And then the war's up, so pretty much he's kicked out the country in a way. And now you have to go back and reset, and then come to America, and redo that whole thing again.
Oh, wow.
So I understand that. So now I understand. But as a kid, you don't understand that
You don't
at
understand
all.
that. You're just like, Dad, I want a hug. And
Yeah.
Dad's like, leave me alone.
Or don't yell at me.
Yeah.
You come in, or whatever, you know, so that kind of thing.
Wow.
But I mean, it's one of those things, though, is the experience through life. Now I understand, and now I'm not really even upset that I went through all that stuff. I think it's helped me become the man that I am, and I'm very proud of the man.
How did it shape you in terms of you becoming a father?
What happened, though, is a funny thing, though. I always said he's angry because he's a blue-collar worker. So that's the other component of why I decided to go in corporate America and so on. But by me becoming a father, what I did is, a lot of things I did is like lavish my daughter with sneakers and things that I couldn't get, because the big fight when I asked my father for Nikes. Kidding me? Am I made out of money? Blah, blah, and so on. So I did a lot of that. You know, I think I was better in those points, but a lot of things I didn't know how to really show the love. Because you can show a love to your daughter to like 14, 15, then she starts running around and you're having the same anger that your father had, because things, you know, now I put my ego aside and I can see what I did, and I speak to her about it.
Okay,
so,
wow.
You know, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just reflecting on what you're saying. That's really deep, man. So let's talk about your journey to the world of self-development. Take us on that road.
Man, you know, we grew up in the same neighborhood, right? The hood millionaire is 6 figures, 100 grand hood millionaire. So I started working hard. I think one of the driving forces was for me to show my father, hey, and my family, I'm somebody, right? So I started buying property. I started working a lot.
So you was in real estate?
Yeah,
right?
in real estate. So I went over. I made the 6 figures, the 150 or whatever it was. And then
but the driving force wasn't necessarily self-achievement. It was, I want to show my family.
Yeah, and I thought money would bring me the happiness, and the money, right? And so I started doing that. Then subprime lending era came around, 2005 or whatever, and I pretty much went broke overnight.
Wow.
Like I just lost everything. I was going through a huge pity party. Poor me, but I still, in hindsight, I still had more in material things than I had before I started.
Right.
But I figured that I wasn't mentored to it, so I figured business just keep compounding, right?
Total ascension.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't really understand that. And then so I thought I had it all figured out, to be honest with you. You know, I got make 6 figures. I got cars. I'm drinking. My kids got this and clothes. And when that happened, I went through a huge pity party for a few years.
Yeah.
Right. I started drinking more.
Wow.
And I wasn't open to, so somebody called me. It was like, do you look other ways to make money? And I went to, sure, because, and I went to my first business conference. It was multi-level marketing.
Wow.
And first I was upset because I saw John C. Maxwell speak. It was like 30,000 people there, and they talked about growth and self-development. I'm like, I can't learn to make money. Not to hear about this.
You don't want to be inspired.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be a good guy. I go to church for that.
Exactly.
So that moment planted the seed, So I came back home and things started to change in my head, and for first I bought one of his books and it took me forever to read it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not self-developed. This thing is crap.
Right.
But as I kept digging more into it, I started to realize, dude, you can do more for yourself. Because I met a lot of people that were like me, and they were making the money, they were living, they were happy.
Right. They were successful and happy.
Correct.
And that was the important point. Yeah.
So I kind of, and once I got into to the growth and self-development, I started to see this blueprints, how you can build your self-esteem, build your confidence. And I started to dive more, so I became almost like a self-development junkie.
Right.
Like getting all this information.
Wow.
Getting all, conferences, books, videos, whatever I can find, and then once I started, one thing that I did realize later is that you got to learn a little and do a little.
Yeah.
Just compound all this information.
Right.
You just know a lot,
but take it in increments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so that's how I got into it, and so if I'm going till today, one thing the reason why I drove from Boston to sit down here and speak to you is because self-development growth works. If you're willing to put in the work, it works.
And that leads us right into your show. So in 2023, the Coach Cardoso Show made its debut. I was so proud of you, man. I was so super proud of you.
Thank you, man.
Before we go, quickly, talk to me about some of the components of your show. What inspired you to want to do the show? Because you said to me, hey, I've never been in front of a camera. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to do it.
Never. I wouldn't even take pictures. I'm self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
I've never, you ever seen me do a video on Instagram or Facebook before this?
No.
Probably not.
No.
On that day when I decided, I spoke to a couple people that were doing it, and I ordered a tripod and camera thing, whatever, and number one, from growth, I know to push yourself out the comfort zone is the way to grow.
Out your comfort, exactly.
Yeah.
Step out that box.
Yes. So that was one reason I did it. The second reason was, dude, you have a lot to offer.
Right.
Do you want to take it to your grave because you're scared of what people are going to say?
Or do you want to share it?
Or you want to share it?
Right, right.
And that's, like John Maxwell says, do you want to be a river or a reservoir, right? A reservoir just takes in the water.
Right, and retains it.
And retains it.
That's it.
River, it flows back out.
That's pretty.
And once I flow back out, I get more information.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Congratulations on your show, man.
Thank you, man. I'm very proud.
Before we run out of time, what's next for the Coach Cardoso Show in going into your second year?
Next, what I really want to get into is to get together a group of people to get conventions going on, like what I go to.
Yes.
What I do. So work more on that, and that's one thing. And obviously do more episodes.
Yeah.
And just try to grow more as we.
And you learn. You learn a lot because you have a lot of guests that come on the show and talk about their experiences. You learn from them as well as giving them information. Right?
And that's what I get more from. I mean, I from you. I learned a lot from you. You said when you talked about things happen for a reason.
Right.
We haven't seen each other forever.
Right.
And all of a sudden we're sitting in front of each other talking. Now twice, right?
Exactly.
All right. We talked about that. I remember having Antonio on the show who talked about ego, right? I grew up and he talks about, so I learned that, not more learning, like it's just in my head now because other people thinking like I am. Wow. Which is, and obviously Rendrick Palmer, he blew the roof off.
Yeah, he's a great guest. Yeah. So before we run out of time, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on all social media platforms, the Coach Cardoso Show.
Okay.
And anybody who wants to connect with me, that's where I am. And I really believe that, you don't have to run to conferences to spend money to do it. You want to start small, you could start with my show. Okay?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I watch it every time a new episode comes on. I watch it, and I definitely get full from the dinner table that is your television show,
Appreciate
your
it, brother.
podcast.
I appreciate
so thank
it,
you
man.
for coming on Sessions Cafe TV show. Really appreciate it. It's an honor to have you on the show, brother.
Thank you, man. I
It's an
appreciate
honor to
hearing
have you
that,
on the show.
and I appreciate you inviting me to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you for coming down.
You're welcome.
We'll see you guys next week right here on Sessions Cafe TV show. I want to thank my guest, Ilidio Cardoso from the Coach Cardoso Show. Make sure you check him out and get some inspiration because you need it, we need it, I need it, it's needed. See you next time.